So get this, two of the world's biggest powers are, believe it or not, still technically at war. That's right. For over 75 years, Russia and Japan have never actually signed a peace treaty to officially end World War II. In this explainer, we're going to unpack this incredible story. It's all about history, strategy, and what it all means for us today. Okay, so here's the mystery at the heart of it all. It comes down to just four little islands. Russia calls them the Southern Kurils, Japan calls them the Northern Territories. And this single dispute has basically frozen their relationship for more than 3/4 of a century. So why? I mean, why all the fuss? Well, the answer isn't just about a few rocks in the ocean. Oh no. It's about national pride, it's about military strategy, and it's about a history that is way more complicated than you might think. To really figure this out, we need to dig deep. We've got to look at what you could call Russia's geopolitical DNA. You know, the kind of core programming that's been driving its actions for centuries. Once we understand that, you'll see why these islands are so much more than just a piece of land on a map. All right, so what exactly is this geopolitical DNA? Let's break down that core programming, the stuff that has shaped Russia from its earliest days into the global power we see today. So think of it like this, right? Every country has a unique set of experiences, its history, its geography, that really shapes how it sees the world. For Russia, its DNA was forged in the shadow of this massive land empire. It kind of sees itself as the heir to the Mongol Empire, which taught it to think on an immense scale, all about land-based power. And that history leads to two huge driving obsessions. First, space. And I don't mean outer space. I mean a massive land buffer to protect its core. And second, something its geography makes almost impossible, getting access to warm water ports. I mean, think about it. Most of Russia's coast freezes solid in the winter. That's a massive headache for trade, for the Navy, for everything. So for centuries, this has driven a relentless push south, always searching for seas that stay open all year round. And this core programming, this DNA we've been talking about, led Russia to develop a kind of signature move. A pretty ruthless tactic it has absolutely mastered and used over and over and over again throughout history. And that strategy, it's brutally simple and it's incredibly effective. Russia has this long history of playing the long game. It waits patiently for the perfect moment when a neighbor is weak or distracted or just in total chaos. And that's when it makes its move. And this timeline here, it lays out the playbook perfectly. Just look. Back in the 1850s, China is getting hammered in the Opium Wars. It's weak. And what happens? Russia swoops in and grabs a huge chunk of territory, founding its key Pacific port, Vladivostok. Okay, now let's fast forward to August 1945. Japan is on its knees, totally defeated after 2 atomic bombs. In that exact moment of weakness, what does the Soviet Union do? It rips up its neutrality pact and snatches the Kuril Islands. You see, it's the exact same playbook, just in a different century. But wait, because Soviet opportunism is only half the story here. The whole fight over these islands has a surprising third actor. Someone who didn't just watch this happen, but actually helped set the stage for this entire decades-long dispute. Yeah, this wasn't just a simple two-player game. There was another global power with a hidden hand in all this, actively creating this permanent point of friction. And that power, you might be surprised to hear, was the United States. Now, I know that might sound a little shocking, but the historical record is crystal clear. At the Yalta Conference in February 1945, months before the war even ended, President Roosevelt made a secret deal with Stalin. He explicitly agreed that the Soviet Union could take the Kuril Islands from Japan. And the price? Stalin had to agree to join the war against Japan in the Pacific. But why? I mean, it seems totally counterintuitive, right? Why on earth would the U.S. just hand over territory to its new rival, the Soviet Union, and in the process create a problem that would last for generations? Well, the answer comes down to a cold, hard, strategic calculation about the post-war world. So here's the thing. This wasn't an accident. It was a feature, not a bug. For the United States, having a permanent dispute between Japan and Russia was actually strategically useful. It made sure that two major Asian powers could never form an alliance, and it kept Japan, a former enemy, firmly dependent on America for its security. And for Japan, those islands became a matter of national honor, something they could never, ever give up. And just like that, the perfect frozen conflict was born. Okay, let's jump forward to today, because that old dynamic is being completely upended by a new player whose shadow is now looming over this entire situation. China. Russia's Far East is a massive paradox. It's this enormous territory, absolutely packed with natural resources, but the Russian population there is shrinking. And this demographic decline is creating a kind of power vacuum. And believe me, Moscow is getting really worried about who might step in to fill it. And you can see the trend right here. The native Russian population is going down, while at the same time, Chinese migration and economic influence are just steadily growing. Now, if you're sitting in Moscow, this raises a pretty scary possibility: the idea of a slow-motion, de facto takeover of your vulnerable eastern border. And this fear of China, it completely changes the game. All of a sudden, Russia desperately needs a partner to help balance out Beijing's growing power. Putin needs investment, he needs technology, he needs development in Siberia to really anchor Russia's presence there. And who's the perfect potential partner with the cash and the tech to do it? You guessed it, Japan. So this mutual need to keep China in check has created the first real chance in decades for a breakthrough. For the first time, both sides have a really powerful reason to finally solve this island dispute. And experts have come up with 3 pretty creative ways a deal could actually happen. Let's walk through the 3 main proposals on the table. First up is the area division model. It's a pretty straightforward compromise. Forget about counting islands, just split the total land area right down the middle, 50-50. Simple. Second, you've got the Hong Kong model, named after the British handover to China. In this scenario, Japan gets official sovereignty over all the islands, but Russia gets to keep administering them for a 50-year transition period. And finally, there's the Okinawa model. Here, Japan gets the islands back, but kind of like the US bases in Okinawa, it would agree to let Russian military bases stay there indefinitely. Each one of these is a really creative way to try and thread a very, very difficult needle. And the prize for actually making a deal, it's huge. We're talking about unlocking massive Japanese investment to develop Siberia, creating a whole new economic partnership to balance against China, and even opening up new Arctic shipping routes that would be a game changer for Japan's energy security. And of course, it would finally, officially, end the Second World War for both of them. So here's the final thought to leave you with. This frozen conflict, born from old imperial ambitions and then engineered by Cold War strategy, might finally be about to thaw. And the reason? The one thing Russia might fear even more than losing those islands? The rising power of its giant neighbor, China. A deal here wouldn't just be a little footnote in a history book. It would signal a brand new alliance, one forged to contain China. And it could potentially redraw the entire power map of Asia for the 21st century.